In this video, we'll be installing and setting up Vue Auth, which is a simple, lightweight authentication library for Vue.js. Vue Auth has four main features. Firstly, it manages the authorization process, including the login, logout, and registration requests to the API. Secondly, Vue Auth will manage the JSON Web Token, storing it when the user logs in or registers, and deleting it when they log out. Thirdly, it allows us to set up user roles and protect routes based on those roles. So we can make it so that any of the routes we have set up can only be accessed by a certain user type. For example, we might stop users from accessing the admin pages unless they're logged in as admin. Finally, Vue Auth provides reactive global variables that allow us to update the UI based on a user's role and authentication status. For example, if a user is logged in, we could add a greeting to the navbar using their name. Or, if they're logged out and are a guest, we can remove that greeting and replace it with a login link. So let's get that installed and set up. To install the Vue Auth package, we'll go to the terminal and type npm I for install, and then it's at websanova. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's the spelling. And the package is Vue Auth, and we want to save that as a development dependency. With the installation now complete, let's open up the main.js file in our client directory, and we're going to import Vue Auth into this file by going import Vue Auth from at websanova Vue Auth, like that. We'll now need to create a config file for Vue Auth. So let's put this in the client directory. So we're going to go touch client, and we'll call the file auth.js. Open up this new config file, and we're simply going to export an empty object, and we'll come back later to add some more configuration here. Back in our main.js file, let's now install Vue Auth as a plugin. So we're going to begin by importing the config file as well. So we'll go import, we'll call this Vue Auth options, and that's going to come from the adjacent auth file. We can then install the Vue Auth plugin by coming down here to the plugin section and going Vue use, and the first argument will be Vue Auth, the plugin, and then Vue Auth options, the config, will be the second argument here. I said earlier that Vue Auth will manage the user's auth token. Now to do this though, it needs to integrate with the HTTP client that you're using, which in our case will be Axios. Now unlike with Vuex ORM, we actually need to manually add Axios and attach it to the Vue object where Vue Auth can find it. So the easiest way to do this is to install a package called Vue Axios. So let's go to the terminal again and go npm install, and it's Vue-Axios, and we'll save that as a development dependency. Once Vue Axios is installed, we'll now import Axios into our Vue app by going import Axios from Axios, and we'll also import the Vue Axios plugin by going import Vue Axios from Vue Axios. With all that done, we can now install Vue Axios by coming down to our plugin section again, going Vue use, and we'll pass Vue Axios as the first argument and the Axios instance as the second argument. Now note that this needs to go above the Vue Auth plugin installation, because that will ensure that Axios is present on the Vue instance by the time that Vue Auth goes to look for it when it gets installed. Returning to our Vue Axios config file now, there are several essential config options that are required to make Vue Auth work. First, keep in mind that Vue Auth is designed to be flexible and integrate into any app setup. This means you can still use Vue Auth even if you're not using Axios and JSON Web Token like we are. You can even use it with a different router to Vue Router. So for that reason, we're going to need to supply Vue Auth with the drivers for the HTTP client, the router, and the auth style, so it knows how to correctly manage these. Fortunately, there are default drivers supplied with Vue Auth that will work for us out of the box. So all we need to do is import them and add them to our configuration object. So let's begin by importing a variable auth, and we'll assign to that the provided JWT driver, which is found in the Vue Auth package. So what we need to do is go at WebSonova Vue Auth, and then we go drivers auth bearer, and that will get us the correct one. Next, we're going to import HTTP, and we'll assign to that the same package, drivers. This one is in the HTTP folder, and it's going to be Axios 1.x JS like that. And finally, we want to import router, and again the same package, drivers. This one will be in the router folder, and we're going to use Vue Router 2x like that. So with that done, let's now add all of these drivers to the config object, keeping in mind that the property names are the same as the variables that we've just created, so we can use these shorthands auth, HTTP, and router like that. And with that, we've now got a bare bones setup for Vue Auth in our project.